Hi, and welcome to my Week 5 presentation. This is my supplemental material for ethics training for wastewater professionals in the public sector. Why is ethics so important? Ethics is very important in the field of wastewater, in the wastewater industry, because we need to be able to build trust and have transparency between what we're doing in our day-to-day activities with the public and the customers that we serve. The customers are trusting that we're using their tax dollars and um, the fees that they pay for their water utilities and the wastewater services to properly utilize those funds and allocate them properly, and that there aren't any mishandling of those funds. So ethics also helps employees and management make good decisions between right and wrong decisions. And sometimes what's considered legal isn't always the most ethical. So there are situations where we really need to look towards our ethics to really decide on what the best decision is. And ultimately, we want to make the best decision that benefits the public because that's what we're here to do. We're here to serve the public and we're a service of the public. Now we could briefly discuss the theoretical foundations that make up the ethical practices that are applied in wastewater industry. First off, we have Aristotle and his virtue theory. So Aristotle believed that not any people aren't naturally born with the ability to be virtuous. We all have the ability to become virtuous, but we're not just virtuous out the door. So it's something that takes practice, and over time, the more um, the more moral choices you make, the better you are at making the right choice in the given situation at hand. So something that you develop over time. Immanuel Kant focused more on reasoning. So he believed that the best method to decide when you're confronted with a moral dilemma or ethical issue is to use reasoning. Really think about the question at hand and the issue at hand, and you'd be able to use reason to come up with a solution that had the least negative impact on those around you or those affected by the decision. And finally, Thomas Hobbes and contractarianism. Um, so here we have two different types of contracts. We have an explicit contract. For example, the Clean Water Act, it's regulations set by the federal government, which applies to all states. We all have to abide by these regulations and meet compliance in order to protect the public health and the environment. And there are also implicit contracts for operators themselves. So for us, for instance, in California, when we obtain our California wastewater treatment plant operator certificates from the California water boards, these certificates st they just show that we as operators are competent enough and we have the knowledge base to work at these wastewater treatment facilities. But the implicitness in that certificate is that we know that we are the first line of defense towards making sure that all the wastewater that comes into the wastewater treatment plant is properly treated, and we need to be honest, transparent, and do everything in our power to protect the public health and the environment. Why is code of ethics so important? The biggest importance of having a set code of ethics is that you're able to hold everyone to the same standard, up to including your managers, upper level executives, down to your lowest level employees. Everyone has to follow the same code of ethics for the organization as a whole. So, sometimes people have different set of personal code of ethics, but as an organization, it's good to have a unified and concise set of code of ethics that everybody follows and everybody's held accountable to. And not only is this good for uniformity, it also helps team building. Everyone's pushing towards achieving the same goal, and it helps with building honesty, integrity. It helps strengthen core values, transparency with the public, and reliability, and commitment to the organization and to your duties as an employee of the agency. So a very simple ethical scenario that an operator might find themselves in is, for instance, there's two different sides of the work week with two different teams. And let's say on Sundays, recently, the operators, when they come into work, they find ahead works, the rag bins are super full and they're overflowing and they're spilling over onto the ground. And every Sunday for the past month and a half, they've been coming in and having to shovel off the ground. So now they're thinking that, the operators on the Saturday shift, they're either ignoring the rag bin or they're purposefully not doing it because they're lazy. And now there's issues, right? There's resentment being built. So some strategies to deal with the current dilemma that I just described about the ragman. So as I said, the Sunday crew is starting to get really irritated with the situation, coming in every Sunday and having to pick up rags off the floor, and thinking, because the Saturday side is just being lazy and not doing their job, and it's not fair. So instead of, so this is a time to cool down and think about some situations that might be preventing the Saturday crew from dumping the rag bin as required. Is the rag bin not full on their side of the week, so there's no need to dump it, and all of a sudden on Sunday overnight, the rag bin gets full. There's an excessive amount of flows entering the treatment plant. Are they getting really busy and not having enough time to dump the rag bin? So these are just some things to think about, why they might not be doing their duties as operators. Next, you want to open up that line of communication. You won't know for sure what's going on unless you talk to them, let them know the the negativity that it's causing on your side of the week, having to pick up the rags off the floor and the resentment that's building up towards them. So, now's the time to ask them and let them know, hey, what's going on? And if it is the fact that they're being lazy and they don't want to cooperate with you, and at this point, you could always ask for help from either your senior or your supervisor and letting them know the situation at hand. We have reached the end. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to viewing your presentations.